Energy Safety Canada, the National Association for Canada's energy industry.
Hazard recognition is a fundamental skill required for nearly every work activity. It's also something we are born to do. We instinctively recognize hazards in the environment around us.
Be aware of the travel path of the forklift, and let's make sure to communicate our movements. Let's also watch out for the load moving on the forklift and the trailer as we unload.
There's also a hazard overhead of the boxes and other items that could fall if the racking is struck by the forklift.
We should also be careful not to store anything near the electrical panel.
However, research has found we're not as good at hazard identification as we think we are. In fact, the average person identifies fewer than half the hazards encountered in a typical work environment. By using the energy wheel as part of pre-job safety briefs and field-level hazard assessments, it helps minimize blind spots by prompting us to scan our environment for all types of hazards. In this instance, stored mechanical energy in the form of the chain and lever binder used to secure the load. Research suggests some hazards are not identified because of blind spots that affect us all, regardless of background, age, or experience. The energy wheel is based on extensive analysis that every injury is the result of contact between a person and an uncontrolled energy source. By providing a template of the different energy source types, the energy wheel provides a clear picture of what you should look for as a potential hazard. It's an effective tool that can enhance our ability to identify hazards we may otherwise miss. The energy wheel identifies the 10 types of energy most often encountered that could cause serious injury, illness, or death. Icons are used to represent each type of energy. Let's take a moment and see how the energy wheel works in practice. What hazards would you have identified during the safety meeting? By instinct, you probably identified the same hazards as the workers did earlier: movement of the forklift and the load on the truck, the possibility of boxes and other items in the overhead storage racks falling if the rack is struck, along with the potential electrical hazard if items are stored near the electrical panel. That's because sources of motion and gravity are easiest for us to notice and identify. Warning signs, like those on the electrical cabinet, also help us identify some hazards. However, many more hazards remain in our blind spot. Now, let's use the energy wheel to help us identify additional hazards in the warehouse that are in our blind spot. There is a source of pressure energy in those compressed gas cylinders that could be released if knocked over by a forklift or other equipment. The same applies to the source of chemical energy in the chemical totes being stored. You may have noticed specific hazards were identified and not simply the hazardous energy type. This is because the energy wheel provides general categories of hazards to help us think more broadly about different types of danger. For example, we are encouraged to use the mechanical icon to remind us to think about specific hazards, such as the lever binder used to secure the load on the truck. Each of the 10 icons on the energy wheel prompts us to think about a different hazard category. Field experiments have shown that the use of the energy wheel improves hazard recognition by approximately 30%. That means going from identifying fewer than half of hazards to nearly 75% of hazards. It helps us to think more broadly about the dangers in our environment and adds structure to pre-job safety briefs and field-level hazard assessments. The bottom line is that the energy wheel helps us identify hazards that we could overlook, helping us conduct more effective pre-job hazard assessments. See if you can identify 3 new hazards in your workplace using the energy wheel and take action.